Okay, so let's continue our inverter schematic example by opening the library we just generated, the CMOS EDU1, I think I called it, and I put it in the electric directory here. So let's open this library. There's the schematic we left off with. I'm going to save this library as CMOS EDU2. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a icon for this schematic of an inverter, and I'm going to generate a new cell that I'm going to use for simulating this inverter. And so I'm going to go to Cell, New Cell, or Control N, and I'm going to call this inverter. Let's just call it Invert Sim, and it's a schematic. Say OK. Now notice it's bolded, meaning the cell hasn't been saved. So we can go ahead and save it, and then it becomes unbolded or just normal text. Let's go back to our schematic of our inverter, and I'm going to copy this information here into the other cell. So I'm going to select it, do a Control X, go back now here and do a Control V. I click somewhere in the cell and then a Control V. Then I'm going to hit Fill Window, and again doing the key bindings over in the Preferences, I think it is. Key bindings, and setting up certain things like window. If we want to fill, we can hit Control 9, or F is what I set mine up to, so I don't have to keep hitting the menus. But I'm going to continue using the menus just so you get used to the commands, but it's much faster not to, but to use the key bindings. Let's zoom in on that and leave that there for the moment and go back to our schematic. Now another thing, I don't want normally to put voltage sources in my schematic of my basic cells because I can't lay out a voltage source. That's an external input. So I'm going to go ahead and nuke that. I'm going to delete this. Now notice, let's see, let's select this text, move it over, and let's zoom in on the text. And there's our origin. We'll do a Control 9 or Fit. Now, I want to make an icon for this, but before I do that, I have to say which input and output are fed to, the higher ranking cell, or what are my inputs and outputs of the cell. And I've labeled these nodes in and out, which is fine. I might want to go back and not label them, just so that I don't confuse them with the labels I'm about to put down, or leave them the way it is. It doesn't matter. Alright, so I'm going to go use this connector right here, which is Create Node Off Page. I already have VDD and ground going off or out of the symbol or out of the inverter, but those are not, in this particular case, things that I'm connecting anywhere. So I'm going to go just connect this up, and I'm going to put it, and I'm going to make a mistake now. I'm going to drop it down, and there's the off page node, and it's saying, hey, this signal's going off page. So I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to put it like this, so it looks like it's connected, but it's really not. So if I go to try, and I'm going to export this port over here, because I think I've connected this port to the wire, but I haven't. I'm going to go export this, and create export, or Control E, and notice I export a port, or an arc, I guess, or a node rather, a node port. I'm going to call this in. Just so I don't confuse this in with this one, I'm going to go ahead and nuke that wire. And then if I look at the wire, it's now called net 11. And I'm going to put an off page node here, and it doesn't matter which way I connect this up, but I'm going to do the left click and then right and pull over. I'm going to nuke that node. Oops, I can't get it. Oh, that's right. I'm going to use the Control and select it, cycle through. Then I'm going to export this port here, the one that I have highlighted. Do a Control E, or again, I'll use the menu items, out. And so I've got an input and an output. Those are my exports. I'm going to clean it up in a moment. Okay, so before I go any further, one thing that you want to do on schematics is run a design rule check. That'll check to see if any arcs are dangling or things are not connected. Because just as I did here, moving this node up and putting it on the wire doesn't connect the node, the off-page node, to this arc. And so this is important because when I draw my layouts, I'm going to draw them just like I do my schematics, and if I just draw something over the arc, it's not going to connect it. I have to physically, or I have to use I have to actually connect it. And so here I'm going to go and I'll run the DRC, check hierarchy, or hierarchical, or F5. Then I'll probably just say when I run DRC, press F5 in the future. If I see it says one error, so I go down here to my electric message window and it says type greater than or less to step through the error. So I'm going to type greater than. And it says, hey, this arc is dangling. Well, it's not connected anywhere. So if I pull this over, I see it's not connected. So I can go here, I can go over and make a connection. Now I've got a pin right here that's unnecessary. So if I run the DRC again I'm going to press F5 probably from this point on. And then I step through, pressing greater than, or it says, hey, you got an unnecessary pin. So I'll just hit delete and delete it. Then I'll press F5, and no errors or warnings. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it over here, and let's see what happens. Alright, so I moved it down. I'll pull this off, pull this over so the schematic looks a little nicer. I might slide this in, slide this one in. I think I'm ready to go. Let's do window, fill window. Now I'm ready. Let's save it real quick. This is the second. So now I'm ready to create an icon for this cell. Let's scoot that up a little so it looks pretty. And so I'm going to go to View, Make Icon View. Before I do this, let's go look at the Explorer again. Notice that this red indicates a schematic here, and then an inverter indicates a schematic, inverter sim, which we have nothing in but that spice code. Let's see, zoom out, or fill window I guess would be better. I don't know why I can't see that. Let's zoom in, probably because I don't have anything in there in the schematic. I come back over here, I can turn the grid on with Control G, toggle grid if I want. For schematics it doesn't really do anything, so let's shut it off. And I'm going to make an icon for this. Now watch what happens here when I make an icon. So whoops, I'm going to make icon view. Now notice how the inverter 2010 went to this grouping symbol, and I can click on it and see this is an icon view and this is the schematic view. And if I hit fit or Control 9, I see there's the icon that it made for my inverter. It doesn't look much like an inverter, so we're going to fix that. Alright, but I have an icon, and so now I can go in, and just so we see this how it works, I can go in here, and then I can place, just drag that down here, and hit window, fill window, I can drag this over, and I still need the, I'm going to start using bind keys in a moment because all this menu stuff is a little bit work. I can still use, I still need the VDD in the ground because even though they're not drawn as connections here, we might change that in the next video. Or maybe 2 or 3 from now. We still need to supply power to the inverter. Power and ground are universal connection. So I don't have anything connected to my input. So instead of drawing a battery like I did before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that spice code. I'm going to press Control I, and then it's going to pop up, and then I'm going to put, hey, I'm going to swing my I'm going to put a DC voltage source called VN from the input to ground, and it's going to have a DC value of 0. So I'm just physically saying, hey, connect a voltage source from VIN to ground, from input to ground, a DC 0. So I'm not going to hit this node because then it won't save it. I'll just hit OK. See, it changes. But you know, I don't have anything connected to this port or to this port. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select by left clicking and then pull out, connect that to right, and then I'm going to double click on this and call this node in. That's the name of that wire or that arc. Apply. Move this over here, and then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to take and right click and pull over, and then I'm going to double click here and call this node out and say OK. And then I'm going to come in and connect. Now I've got this node labeled in, this node labeled out, and then I'm going to, there's my text with everything in there specifying where my models are located, etc. I'm going to generate a SPICE netlist. But notice, even though I called that node, that arc, and this arc the same thing, they're connected to these two ports of the node. They're not, I could call them something different, but they have to be connected, and so the text tells me where things are located. Alright, and that's not a very good inverter symbol. So let's go back over here and generate our SPICE netlist. So write SPICE deck, and we're writing to C:electric, and then inverter sim.spi, and then say save. And then we're going to have the netlist in the SPICE sim right here, and we'll run it and just show that it works. And I'll call this, or let's just look at Vout. You see Vout makes our nice inverter transition. I'm going to go over here and rename this so when I save it on CMOS EDU it has a different name. So that's CMOS Sim 1. Now I'm going to go back and change. Let's go ahead and delete these so we start over from scratch. Whoops. Control Z. Control Z is good. There's our icon. I'm going to go back here now and I'm going to edit the icon. So basically this arc and its port are the important thing. I'm going to select this box and I'm going to delete it. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to components, and if I look, I'm on the artwork component. I'm going to select this triangle node here and drop it in. And I could try to use that as an inverter, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to select that and I'm going to draw it, I'm going to edit it directly. If I go up here to toggle outline edit mode and click on that, it will allow me to adjust or move the various vertices, I guess, of this triangle. So if I, instead of using this icon or pressing Y, I could press Y, that's the short way. I'm going to go over to Edit, and then Arc. Oh, where is it here? I'm so used to Modes, Edit, Toggle Outline Edit, or Y. And again, this is the same as this. So my object's selected, and I'm going to toggle the outline, edit, toggle outline, edit. And what's going on here? And let's just press Y. No, I guess it won't let me edit that triangle, so we'll delete that. And we'll put in a open polygon and edit that instead. So I'll press Cell, Edit, Arc, Modes, and come down here, and then we'll move Oops, and you probably want to spend a little time doing this so that your symbols are similar. And here, and then pressing Y gets me out of this mode. So I'll press Y, or we'll do this one more time with the menus. Now I'm going to add a circle, and let's go to Window, Zoom Out, and I put my circle there, and wow, it's way too big, so I press Control I, and let's change it to 2, and apply. Yeah, that's good enough for now. Just again, you might want to move it to something that, yeah, let's make it a little smaller. Control I, or double clicking. 1 and 1. That looks fine. Okay, move it over. And let's turn the grid on just to make sure that we line everything up with the grid. And I didn't line these up with the grid, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this again and press Y for toggle outline edit one more time. Modes, edit, toggle outline edit. I'm going to pull this node down here. I'm going to pull, oops. I'm going to pull, oops. Let's go ahead and pull this one out to here. Move this one down. Press Y and move this. Oh, I didn't do a good job there, so let's select this again in Y. Let's go here. Go up. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we should be able to get that right in the middle. Press Y again. Move this up. There we go. So now it's lined up on the grid. Move this node, or this arc, over here. Then I'm press Control and cycle through. Whoops. And this one down here. Press Control and cycle through till it becomes red. In. Now we've got our nice little icon. Let's position the icon so that, let's see if I do that, just so my input's right on the origin. I guess you can move it just about anywhere you want. Window, Control 9. Let's go ahead and save. Go back to our Explorer. Go back to our inverter. Let's see. So let's do a control or zoom out. So let's move this text over here. Now again, I've got an input voltage source here connected to the input of my inverter, but I don't have anything connected. So I'm going to, I need to label a node. So I need to connect an arc to this this node. Now I'm using node interchangeably, and it can be a little bit confusing. An icon is a node because it has ports, but in Spice, a node is any wire electrically that you have a name or a number associated with. And so I'm going to left click here, pull this out, go left click here. Let's see, I see something problem. I need to flip this around because the node that's highlighted for the connection's over here and not over here. So let me go ahead and label this. What did I call it? I called it in. So that's in. Okay. And let's just move that a little bit above so it looks nice. Go back to my icon, select this arc, go up to Edit, and then rotate 90 degrees, Control J. Let's go ahead and use Control J. So press Control J a few times. Whoops. Control J. It's not letting me do that for some reason. So let's try it again with Edit, Mirror, left, right. do an info and C, schematic wire, net, etc. Cancel. Let's do a control I on that one. That's an export. Well, this is a good thing. I don't know why I can't flip this arc around. This is the node here that's actually exported, the one right there that's highlighted. Control Z. So let's see what happens if I flip this around and I try to do a Control J. Nothing's happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it manually. I'm just going to delete these two. Delete this. Delete this. Come over, and this will be good for us to look at. We'll go down to Schematic. Then I'm going to put a pin here. Then I'm going to right click and drag. Then I'm going to select that node and press Control E or export. Then call it out. And then now that node is exported. However, before I go any further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a DRC. 0 errors, 0 warnings. So I go back now and look at my schematic. There's my node, or there's my icon, and I can move this around if I want to, just so it's closer. And edit it here if I want, because it's the cell here. And then I'm going to connect the port, and I'll label this and call it out, just so I know what it is. Alright, so now I'm ready to sim. And so I press S, because I set the bind key up so that it'll write a spice deck with S. And then I'm going to call this inverter sim _2. Save. Go back to my file here, run it. V out. And I see there's my response to my inverter. Pretty thrilling. Okay, so let's save this directory. So we've got an icon, a schematic. Let's say I want to edit the contents of this cell, which if I hit Control D, or I'm sorry, if I select the cell, I can, let's see, go down and I can take a look at the menus and go down in the hierarchy with a Control D. If I do that, now I'm editing this cell right here, and if I go back and I hit Control U, I go back, or Control up for up in the hierarchy, I go up in here. So let's do that again. Control D, I can edit the cell. Of course, all these commands work just the same for layout, which we'll do next, and Control U, which goes up in the hierarchy. So I've got my cell, and I've got a sim separated from the cell, so I can use a cell and other things. All right, so let's go ahead and save this, and we'll stop here. And then when we come back, we'll do the layout view. So here we have the schematic view, the icon view, and if I wanted another view, I could create duplicate this cell and have various views to run edits on the circuitry, so that I want to make change and see what happens, I can do it. We'll cover that later. So we'll come back and do the layout next. So let's stop.